Welcome to our time. Jo O'Callaghan likes to throw a party. It's true. She also likes dogs. Her first encounter with the Adelaide Fringe was producing and performing on buses across Adelaide with the cult hit Op Shop Tours. She's now the Executive Director in Programming and Development with the Adelaide Fringe. And as it says in her bio, if you can't see her, just listen for her laugh. Perfectly on cue. Thank you, Jo.
No worries.
Thank you. We've been looking forward to talking with you for quite a while.
Yes, we have. Thank you for having me.
Because you're always so busy.
It's hard, I know.
But it's lovely talking to a pro. And by that I mean someone who actually is a professional in the entertainment industry on both sides, because you didn't start as a manager, obviously.
Correct, yeah. I started at the University of Ballarat in a Bachelor of Arts in Musical Theatre.
But before that?
And before that, I took part in the music program at Brighton Secondary. So I was
That's
very lucky.
here in Adelaide?
Yeah,
not
here
Brighton
in Adelaide.
in Melbourne?
Yeah, no, correct. Just by the beach, amazing school, amazing education.
And a great reputation.
Yeah, and definitely connected with some extraordinary people, some people that are still practicing musicians and artists and have really jumped into their career as well. So
was it difficult to go from that to find the next stage of your career? Well, of learning, I suppose.
Yeah. It wasn't difficult. I guess I had this naive belief that I was going to go to Broadway and nothing was going to stop me.
Did anybody tell you there's only one theatre left on Broadway?
I know. And we won't talk about what happened when I actually got to Broadway and watched a whole bunch of shows, and just it is different to what you imagine as a 16-year-old.
Absolutely, yes. Did you go as a 16-year-old?
No, when I was thinking about trying to go.
Yes. All the bright lights that you see in Times Square.
Yeah, that's it. But I mean, this is nearly 20 years ago now, and I really wanted to study musical theatre. My singing teacher at the time was like, I think you'd be perfect for this. And there was 3 courses in Australia. So you could go to WAPA. At the time, you could go to BAPA, Ballarat Academy of Performing Arts, or you could go to Mackay in Queensland. And so they were the only 3 places that offered tertiary education in musical theatre. And so, of course, I applied for all 3. Along with Flinders Drama Centre.
Yes.
And I got accepted into Ballarat, and so off I went.
Leaving home for the first time, being a uni student living away from home.
Yeah.
Was that a good experience?
It was great.
What did it teach you?
Look, it taught me a lot of things, but I also made some of the best friends. Some of my best friends to this day are friends from university.
It's true though, that's absolutely right. That's exactly what happens in unis, and you end up working with a lot of them or watching their careers move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
But look, we've got a photo of you from, would have been your headshot, I assume, when you graduated. Look at this, look at you.
So much hope.
Yeah. And world expectation of going to Broadway.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that was those headshots where, high contrast, black and white 8x10s. You hold them up just like in a chorus line.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many of them I printed.
I love this.
So this is the first show I did, I guess, after accepting that maybe I wasn't going to do 8 shows a week in the back of a chorus. And I put on my own show. And I did it at the Butterfly Club in Melbourne, and it's called My Life in a Tablecloth Dress.
Right, and there it is.
Yeah.
Return season there. Oh, this is the bus.
This is the bus. So then an evolution of My Life in a Tablecloth Dress was to do the show on a bus while taking people op shopping. So in between stops, I would do comedy, I'd sing, it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
Itself.
There you go. And you'd go through looking at what people had purchased and enjoying the shopaholics.
And then you moved on to other things like the film festival in Melbourne.
Correct. So Melbourne International Film Festival was a big part of my, journey into arts administration. I worked there for 5 years, and they really helped me shape that organisational leadership that I embody now, and It was the first festival I worked for. It's got a special place in my heart.
Is that losing, do you feel, becoming an administrator, has that sort of caused you to lose your dream?
I don't think so.
Performing on Broadway in Times Square?
Yeah.
With the half-naked cowboy?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the dream definitely changes and it evolves, and I still have no ambition to perform in a musical on Broadway, but I do use the skills that I learned at university, and I there's a performance in everything we do every day.
Of course.
You know, and I
Of
think what both school and a music education and university gave me was an ability to listen and an ability to understand the people around me and to work cohesively in a team. Because you have to follow direction, but you also have to be good at giving it. You have to self-learn. You're constantly getting notes. You're constantly trying to self-improve. It is that constant journey of improvement that you learn as a performing artist. Yeah.
Because that's the learning process for the people coming to you.
That's it.
And you suddenly become the head honcho of your Miss Advice.
That's it.
Miss Advice.
Yeah.
Hello, Miss Advice.
Hello. Maybe I won't be. I won't.
No, not in that. No. Miss S-M-I-double. Well, it's probably the same spelling now. Think about it. Miss Advice.
Yeah, the punctuation there is important.
Yes.
But no, so I think it was an important time, and I don't feel like I let the dream go. I think I just I adapted it a bit.
Look, I think this is the thing. If you're going to be in a position like you're in now, you have to understand the position of the performer, who really, for them, it's all about what they're going to do on the stage or on the TV show or whatever it's going to be. They don't really think about how am I going to get there, who's going to work the lights, what do I need, what costumes do I need, scenery do I need, am I going to, in the case of the Fringe, am I in a hard-top theatre, am I in a tent, am I outdoors, where am I?
Yeah, you have to be adaptive and you have to be flexible and you have to be proactive in thinking about, you know, all the things that you need to put on that show. And I think that's something I really enjoy and something that I didn't think I would enjoy as much as I do.
Do people make an appointment to talk to you? Is it all on the phone? How does it work?
Yeah, so at Fringe we do one-on-ones, often in person. Sometimes I even go and visit different venues or go regionally across South Australia. You can also do online appointments as well, and of course on the phone.
Well, for people that haven't sort of been born into this world that we live in, the Adelaide Fringe is the second largest fringe in the world, only topped by Edinburgh.
Correct.
And there are fringes everywhere now.
Yeah, there's over 300 of them. Yeah.
So do most people that basically come into Adelaide from overseas and interstate, are they participating in fringes like a touring circuit around the world? Do a lot of people do that, or do many people just produce a show and do it, say, here?
I think it's probably about half. So there's a lot of people that just do Adelaide Fringe, and they do Fringe because they love it and that's their end goal, is just to participate in Fringe. But most of the people that are coming in from interstate or international would be doing it at other festivals. They
would have maybe been to the Melbourne Fringe, the Perth Fringe first, and then here, and then to New Zealand.
New Zealand or Melbourne International Comedy Festival. And there's a nice winter circuit now with Broome and Darwin and Townsville, also having sort of July, August opportunities. And then a lot of people go over to do the summer in Europe and head to Edinburgh. So
right, well, that's the big one.
Yeah.
And the risk is there.
Yeah.
For internationals, I guess, going to Scotland at that time of the year.
Oh, it is. It is really expensive. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have as a festival, is supporting our independent artists to make sure that they can achieve what they want to achieve. And a lot of them won't participate in Fringe to make a lot of money. There's probably a lot easier ways to make money, if I'm honest. But it's about giving opportunity to share their story. And a lot of them will seek funding from different areas. They'll also have opportunities to meet with buyers and industry professionals that might take their work on the road or produce their work. It's part of Honeypot. So it is a diverse range of reasons why people participate in Fringe and why an artist from Adelaide would take their work to Edinburgh. But there's some great opportunities and there's endless outcomes that this show isn't long enough for me to talk about, but there's some extraordinary outcomes of people that have taken their show on the road and have been touring for years after their opportunity in Adelaide or Edinburgh.
I suppose what your expectations really are, isn't it? And if you're in the entertainment industry, the chances are you can't mine a town out forever, so you've got to go somewhere else to spread what you have to offer.
That's it. And that might be a cruise ship, that might be a remote regional festival, or that might be going to Avignon in France. It really depends on what outlet you seek and also what buyers are looking for your type of work, whether that's clowning or a tribute act or an intimate piece of theatre.
Well, just recently you had a little seminar with people that are participating in the Fringe, which I was at. It was quite interesting to see the statistics of ticket sales and things. Most performers really don't get to really understand this, to understand where am I putting my money to market the show, who's going to come to see it, should I be targeting? One of the things I found interesting, because what I actually thought was the biggest number of people coming to the Fringe in Adelaide this year was the 35-year-old plus women.
Yes. And those audiences...
Those stats are really interesting.
Yeah. So we know that generally women are the decision makers. So they're the buyers. They're often either taking a significant other or they're taking a group of friends. And we know that sort of over 35 bracket is the biggest category of buyers. So yeah, it is an opportunity to really jump into that data and analyse who's buying what tickets and when.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realise the assistance the Fringe gives, and we'll be back to talk about that in just a tick. Jo O'Callaghan is our special guest on this episode of Ad Time. We're talking about her life and her life in the Adelaide Fringe. Jo, this year's Fringe has been on one hand controversial and on one hand a bit confusing to some people, and everyone's got an opinion. Some of the challenges, I suppose, for the Fringe and for local performers is the Garden of Unearthly Delights, which has grown enormously, and Gluttony, which has also grown enormously, have more or less damaged the ability for local people to perform. Is that an accurate supposition?
I think it's definitely how some artists and venue operators would feel. But I guess if we lean into the data that we talked about before, Adelaide Fringe...
That's why I'm asking you the question.
Yeah.
Because I know the answer.
We're a delicate ecosystem, and so everyone has their place. And some years, some parts of that ecosystem thrive more than other years. I think Garden and Gluttony are an essential part of that ecosystem. They absolutely feed opportunity and they generate income for a large number of artists every year. And what we can then do with that income is see that trickle down into other venues and offer opportunities to others in different ways. But it does make it difficult to find a space in what is already a very noisy market for some independent artists that don't have the marketing budgets. But at the same time, there's opportunity for different people to find spaces in different places that they might be able to put on a show.
That maybe don't cost them as much as well.
Correct.
And they're the other things to consider, because you're going to rent a place usually to put your performance on.
Yeah.
And it's really up to the marketing and how do you get your, well, as you say, the noise. How do you get through the noise?
Yeah, and I guess the important part of what that looks like is that Adelaide Fringe's total number of ticket inventory hasn't increased. So you talk about the Garden and Gluttony growing, but actually the number of tickets we've had to sell hasn't really increased that much over the last 5 to 8 years. It's about the 2 million mark, and it has sort of give or take maybe a couple of % stayed at that amount.
Now, when you say 2 million, you're saying that all of the seats that are available, basically half of them have sold across the board.
Correct. And if you go back 5 or 8 years ago, it was more like 35 to 40%. So our objective each year is to try and increase the number of tickets sold and reduce the number of unsold tickets. But ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, and working with different venue operators, the big ones and the small ones, and the artists, the experienced and the emerging, is just as important to achieve that goal.
Well, because that's the future. The emerging are the future.
That's it.
Probably the reality is that, again, and most performers don't really understand the back of house way that things work, and so it can become quite frustrating when they're not making the ticket sales. But one of the other issues is not promoting enough before you arrive, whether you live here or not before you arrive in the venue. But if you're from somewhere else around the country or overseas, it's letting your venues know what you are, who you are, what you've got, and actually reading the information that's when you register for the Fringe. Takes about a day, Jo. It's got bigger every year, he says.
That's it. The registration process does get bigger each year, but the more information that Adelaide Fringe can get at the point of registration, the better we are informed and the better we can use that to promote shows into different communities.
Well, there were some new questions this year, like, does your seats have backs?
There you go. So there's a number of people in our access community that would need to sit with a back on their chair rather than a stool. And that's a question we've been asked and feedback we've been given. And so we're now asking you so we can promote it.
Yes. Well, that's the other thing. It's the terminology also that venues would use for seating arrangements, for example.
Yes.
But also, you know, we become part of a big family at this time, and that's very important for our industry as a whole.
I think so, and I think I've seen a lot of really established artists, like, you know, the Will Andersons of the world, that are so keen on supporting the emerging artists, and they will, at the end of every one of their shows, recommend their audience goes and sees someone in a 50-seater at Rhino Room. And I see that in all of the genres of fringe, there's always people doing shout-outs and opportunities and encouraging people to get out and see someone that they might never have heard of or who doesn't have a regular spot on TV.
That's the beauty of the fringe, isn't
Yeah.
it? Go and see something you've never seen before.
That's it. And I think we're seeing more and more of that happen. I think one of the mistakes I see, especially international artists make, is they might have a show that's outside of the East End in a venue that's not close to the Garden or Gluttony, and they'll choose to try and draw audiences from outside Garden or Gluttony. But actually, if they lean into the environment that their venue is in and the local area, what our data tells us is that people are more growing in interest in seeing works in their area.
Oh, that's really clear. And
Yes.
I think the age group of people coming to see things in the fringe, like I've been around for a long time having a venue, so I've seen the people coming and going. And I think this year we had more people coming who were over, well, I'd say retirement age. It's like, oh, the fringe. Oh, I never thought to go to that before. Oh, that would be good. Let's do that.
That's it. We're definitely seeing that. And I think COVID also maybe changed a behaviour there where
Yes, I think it did.
people want to stay local, and they learnt what was local to them. They learnt where the local venues were, where the local theatres were. And we've seen a lot of local councils lean in as well. So there's an extraordinary array of metro and regional venues.
Yeah, well, historically, it's interesting because in 2020, like the fringe finished and COVID began.
That's it.
You were lucky the government held out,
That's
unlike
it.
the other governments.
There were minutes in it.
There were minutes in it,
Yeah.
and we're all holding our breath thinking, oh, this will go away in a minute, and it didn't.
Yeah.
We were very lucky, though, by the next year, that we were still able to play.
Yeah. And I think we've been given extraordinary support. You know, at no point did anyone say fringe can't happen. You know, whether it was the police or SA Health or state government, it was, what do you need to make it happen? And how can we make fringe safe for everyone? And I feel like that was such a generosity.
Well, it's the spirit of the people, you know. In a case of a pandemic like that, you needed to keep people's spirits up.
That's
you needed to give them something to look forward to the year afterwards in 21.
That's it.
But people didn't really start coming back out again, I feel, until 2022 here. Did you feel that?
Yeah, and I think there's still some elements where people are still testing different venues and seeing what they feel safe, where they feel safe in going.
Well, it's interesting to see who still turns up with a mask just in case. And often you want to say, are you protecting yourself because you may have it? Are you COVID, that is? Are you protecting yourself because you might think somebody around you has it?
Yeah.
Or are you just protecting yourself because it bothers you being in a crowd again? Because that's the sad thing. The one thing about sitting and watching a show as an audience is sitting in the audience, because this human spirit thing works best with laughter, with tears, with just feeling happy, just being part of the human race, I think.
That's it. That collective community experience is so powerful, and I think it's important that people feel safe to do that together. And I think we've had a lot of great feedback from our immunocompromised community. They've spoken to us about what they need, and so they will often want to go to venues that are not at full capacity, or outdoor venues, of which we still have many, which is a COVID adaptation. So yeah, there's lots of ways that people can find a venue that suits them. So
how did you go in the bus when you were doing the shows in the bus? There was a challenge. How did that work? I know you're thinking back, because shortly we're having on the program in a few weeks, we're having a lady that takes the silent disco tours around.
Yeah.
And I mean, you think, what? What is that? Well, try it and find out.
There's nothing like trying to do comedy on a bus. You get stood up by the traffic often. and you never know how much time you've got. So sometimes, you'd have a
Never
5-minute
thought of
set
that.
and then
Yes.
you might get stuck in traffic and you suddenly had to do 15 minutes.
So where did you find the material?
All the people that I met. So my show and my, I guess, story was a reflection of the community that I was a part of, and those people who were engaged in supporting quality clothing and secondhand clothing rather than buying fast fashion.
Right. Well, that's a big thing now.
It is.
Of course.
Yeah, and I guess.
And what are you wearing? Are you wearing...
Yes, pretty much all of this is from an op shop. Correct.
I was joking.
No, but we can go through it. No, this one's a Salvos note. But it is important to think and have a consciousness around how you consume.
Oh, I agree.
And that's what I guess the Op Shop Tours was doing, was about bringing people together to reduce shame or stigma that they might feel around buying secondhand and connect them to other like-minded individuals.
The truth is, this is, I think, the only tie that's been... No, I've been given a couple of ties from the crew here, because all my other ties have come from exactly one of those places.
Yeah, there you go. And there's some great opportunity in finding little hidden gems and different items that maybe express a creativity in yourself that you wouldn't otherwise be able to find.
Well, everything's secondhand when you think about it. Really, everything that we use is secondhand.
Yeah.
It's been something before it became a plant or a whatever.
That's it.
Yes, and I couldn't agree with you more. I think we're just so wasteful as humans.
Yeah. And I think that's what's great about Fringe, is that anyone can tell their story. You know, like I was on a bus singing, 60s songs to middle-aged women who were buying secondhand leather bags, and what a great thing that was. And people would come back every year, the same people, and they'd have a great time and they'd bring their friends. And so, it's just one example of how diverse Fringe is, with different workshops and talks. And we've got the eat and drink genre now that really enables anyone to get involved, whether you want to go to a chocolate and wine pairing or you want to go and learn about how to belly dance. There's something for everyone. And it's really an extraordinary opportunity.
It is. Talking of opportunities, we'll take this opportunity to leave you for a moment, but we will be back. We've been talking about things about the Adelaide Fringe with Jo O'Callaghan, who is, what's your official title?
Executive Director, Programs and Development.
That's a big title.
It is. It's a big job.
So what advice do you give somebody who wants to do the Adelaide Fringe or participate as a performer, or actually as a venue, because you're looking after that too?
Absolutely. For anyone who runs a venue or would like to run a venue for Fringe, or an artist who wants to participate, the number one bit of advice I'd say is read. There's lots of information on our website.
I know that.
Yep, there's some amazing team members who will meet one-on-one with you to go through the who's who and what's what of Adelaide Fringe anytime. So really just give us a buzz or get involved, make contact, have a look at the website, and really invest some time in learning about the business models that you could participate in Fringe with, because they're varied and they're very, very different depending on where you go and what you want to get out of Fringe. So
actually, that's good advice, what you want to get out of Fringe.
Yeah.
And don't think it's always going to be the money.
Absolutely not. There are people that make a lot of money in Fringe, but there's probably easier ways to make money. So I think it's about really understanding why you want to work within the Fringe context. And also, I guess, I want to give you a belief that the story you have to tell is something that audiences want to hear. So That's really good advice, Jo. Yeah.
Too many people think over there, but they don't think, does anybody want to see what I'm doing?
Yeah. And I think we've seen some amazing stories on our stages and some really authentic opportunities for artists to get on a stage and be real. And often Fringe audiences aren't looking for big costumes and sets and budgets. They actually just want to connect human to human and hear an authentic original story.
Couldn't agree with you more. Thanks so much for doing this, and good luck, because I know you must be crazy now with everybody starting to registering for the Fringe and all that, because all that's been open for a while.
That's it. It is getting busy.
Good luck. And I know you're also going to Edinburgh, so who knows what you'll see there.
That's it. Yeah.
Good luck with all that. So until next time we see you, which might be at a Fringe show. Who
might
knows? Keep yourself nice till then. Thanks, Jo.
Thank you, Malcolm.